Welcome, Cosmic Explorers, to Cosmic Classroom Lessons from Starlight Synergy School, the podcast where we journey through the nexus of science and spirituality to empower your life. I'm your guide, Katie Dickinson, cosmic engineer and founder of Starlight Synergy School, and your fellow traveler on this path of discovery and transformation. This podcast is for seekers, dreamers, and anyone ready to uncover the mysteries of the universe within themselves. Whether you're curious about the cosmic forces that shape our existence or seeking practical tools for personal empowerment, you're in the right place. By tuning in, you'll discover how to navigate life's challenges with grace and strength, drawing on the power of both your intellect and intuition. You'll learn strategies for calming the storm within, setting boundaries that honor your soul, and ultimately stepping into the empowered, radiant being that you are meant to be. Get ready to transform your understanding of yourself and the world around you. If you're inspired to explore further and join our community of cosmic learners and fellow starseeds, follow us on social media, subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, and visit our website to learn more about our courses. Together, we can unlock the secrets of the stars and the untapped potential within. Please remember, this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. While we explore topics related to personal and spiritual growth, it's important to seek professional advice for individual concerns. Our journey together is one of exploration and discovery, not a substitute for professional guidance. Let's embark on this cosmic journey together. Welcome to the Cosmic Classroom. Get ready to elevate your essence, honey, because the stars are not the limit. Welcome, Cosmic Explorers. Today, we're embarking on a journey through the realms of consciousness and the deep seas of our own neurology, exploring the transformative power of HypnoBreathwork with our celestial guide, Lauren Little. A master in the art of breath and transcendence, Lauren brings a fusion of ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience to our cosmic classroom. As we unravel the mysteries of the mind and spirit through the simple yet profound act of breathing, prepare to discover how these practices can elevate your existence beyond the ordinary. Stay tuned as we breathe new life into old wisdom, and remember, the answers you seek might just be a breath away. Welcome to Cosmic Classroom. My name is Katie Dickinson. I am the cosmic engineer of Starlight Synergy School, and today we have Lauren Little. Our episode is The Cosmic Breath, Unveiling the Power of HypnoBreathwork with our celestial guide. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am really excited to get into this conversation today because I got to go on a retreat with her and some other coaches where my life was changed forever. So, Lauren, I don't know if you want to give a little bit of background about yourself and how you got into breath work and follow your magic even. Tell us.
Yeah, follow your magic, which I hope you come back to this year. But yeah, my name is Lauren Little. I'm a HypnoBreathwork facilitator and guide. And I always start with HypnoBreathwork changed my life. And when I say that, I literally do mean literally and figuratively. I started my HypnoBreathwork journey about 5 years ago. And I was like, what is this? My husband is actually the one who convinced me to go to a session. And here in LA, we have, I think they're pretty worldwide actually, Remedy Place. And I went to a session with a lady named Francesca Simpa, and I didn't like it. I was lying there. I was like, I'm feeling all of these emotions that are making me feel very uncomfortable. There are things coming up. I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things, and I don't know what is happening to my body. I don't like it. And I had an extreme release in that session. And my first kind of flight or flight mode defense mechanism was, I'm never doing this again. And I didn't. I didn't go back. I didn't finish the next 2 sessions of my little 3-package series. And then finally I went back by myself. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my husband. I went, and it took me about 2 or 3 sessions to really understand the concept of being able to feel your emotions and find old emotional wounds that are living inside of you in order to grow and to move forward. And in that 3rd session, I had such a profound experience of why my guard was up and why I was running versus addressing. And I got hooked. I started going to classes, and it was a really rough period time in my life. My mom had just relapsed after 12 years of being sober, and we almost lost her. My dad moved out, he had cancer, and I was just alone. I had my husband, who I tried to fill this gap with that I was like, oh, this amazing man, he's going to fill all the parts that my heart is missing. You can't do that to someone. That's not fair. So had to take a deeper look inward. And it was a journey. When people say, how did breath work come into your life? I think it was multiple different times. I was given signs and messages that this is where I needed to attend my energy to. This is where the direction that I needed to be led in. I started doing breath work just because it was something to do. It was something that distracted me. It was something that I was like, oh, this is new. This takes up time. And I'm finding things out about myself that I didn't even know lived inside of me. So I went on a deep journey. I'm talking like 365 days of breath. I breathed every day. I went to classes 3, 4 times a week. I started doing classes online. I downloaded everything I could find. I got really intrigued by the science of breath work. And then I just finally decided to get certified. And during that period of time, nights got pretty scary. They got pretty dark. I was having a lot of depressive episodes. I was having really bad anxiety. My doctor actually referenced me over to a psychologist, that most amazing woman in the world, and eventually was diagnosed with bipolar 2. And in that time, I, as a person and anyone who ever meets me, have a lot of pride. And I was like, there's no way. I know I had depression. I know I had anxiety, but there's no way you're going to diagnose me with something else. I'm not going to say out loud, I have bipolar 2. I'm not bipolar. I was so defensive. And I started to believe, and I started to wire my brain to believe that giving myself the title of being bipolar meant I wasn't worthy.
Wow.
I couldn't teach after I just got my certifications. My friends would no longer come to me for advice. My family would no longer think I was the strong person. I literally thought that diagnosis meant I was no longer a worthy human. Crazy, I know. But that was where my mind went. So I spiraled a little bit. We ended up medication route, which I always had the desire to not be on forever. And my psychiatrist told me I needed to find an outlet. And I was like, I have breath work. I was interested in it. And she said, if this is what you want to focus on, fully focus on it. And I did. So I went on a little bit deeper of a journey into inner child healing, inner child wounds, going into my past wounds where we're really reprogrammed, as we'll talk about today, and figuring out why I reacted the way that I did, figuring out where my emotions were living and what the root of them and where they all actually stemmed from, what creates those and what provokes those and triggers those. And then it got fun after that. I started healing, I started releasing, I started shifting energy. And then I went into HypnoBreathwork and got a 4th certification. And that was fun because it's really accessing more of flow state. You still have massive releases. We still start with breath work, which we'll get into, but it gives you the opportunity to be in an optimal state of peak performance. When we talk about, oh, I feel flowy today, that is literally how you come out of some hypno breath work sessions. And when I found hypno breath work, I was like, wow, breath work can be fun. I had this moment. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I feel high. I have energy. Felt like I woke up and had a rock star. But in the times that I did need it for a release, it was also there to serve that purpose as well. That's where it started. It's been in my back pocket. It's a tool that I go to for everything, anytime, highs, lows, everything in between. It's there for you. We all have access to it. Last year, things took a turn for me and I really leaned on HypnoBreathwork. I had success in 6 months. And during that time, I look back now and it sounds almost, I don't want to use the word dramatic, but a little bit dramatic. I don't think I would have survived those success in 6 months if I didn't have the power of breath by my side. So it's a beautiful tool. We're going to get into it today. I could go on with my story forever, but I'm really excited to share just the power of HypnoBreathwork with everyone and bring more awareness to the power of breath itself. Because I know you've experienced and you've had some pretty awesome experiences too.
Yeah, I had crazy experiences and releases while we were at Follow Your Magic. And I just want to say your story is just such a testament to the fact that anyone can do this, especially being a person. It's funny. I always feel like the things that help us or the things we end up loving most in our lives are the things that we hate the first time, which even sometimes happens with friendships, I feel like.
I don't think I like her. Oh my gosh, she's my best friend.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way with you. We had an instinct.
No, honestly, yeah, I'm immediately like, let's be besties and wear onesies, and I love you. A big part of today is us, and also in Starlight Synergy Schools, exploring the intersection of neuroscience and breathwork combined. And so I got really excited when we talked about doing this podcast episode, because I know that you nerd out just like I do. And like you said, you love the science behind it. And so I just thought it was really interesting. I want to read from this article that I found about breathwork, because I did not know this about so many different languages, because I wanted to look up like the history of it. And so what I found was breath has been playing an essential role in most traditional cultures. Among many similarities throughout them, they all have viewed and continue to consider the concept of breathing as being the air that is taken into the lungs, but also as the spiritual life force that creates life. So some examples are: the English word spirit comes from the Latin spiritus, meaning a breath. The Hebrew and Greek words used for spirit or soul are words that can also mean breath. The word prana translates to mean air and breath, but also means the sacred essence of life in Indian philosophy. The word ha is the word for breath in the Hawaiian language and is related to the word mana, which is the spiritual force. The word in Chinese medicine for breath and the air we breathe is qi. This word also means the universal and cosmic energy of life. The word ki is also similar in Japanese tradition, which plays a significant role in martial arts and many other spiritual practices. In Greek, the word pneuma translates to air, breath, but also used as spirit or life energy. The Greeks believed that breath is connected to the mind, and the spirit and breath are both closely related. So I just thought that it was so cool to read all of those details about that.
Yeah. And it's so fascinating. It's something to go back all the way to ancient times. And there's so much research on breath work, which I really did enjoy. And I think that's the beautiful part of HypnoBreathwork, which we'll explain to everyone here listening as well. But the beautiful part about it is we're not just left in that breath work. So HypnoBreathwork, we infuse and we combine breath work, hypnosis, and visioning. And then we always end with taking action. It's the most important part of all. But the breath work, we're using those circular connected breaths that we always hear about in articles, the research that we do. And that's where we're really starting to access altered states of consciousness. And we're starting to clear those suppressed emotions and stagnant energy from the body. So that's that huge release. That's where we're going deep into our old childhood wounds. That's where we're really saying, wow, there is so much living inside of my body. And we don't have the opportunity to see it. We're living in a daily hustle and bustle culture. Like we are nonstop from the minute we wake up to the minute we go to sleep for most people. And so we don't really have the opportunity to take time to just sit there and look inward. So that's the start of each session as we really start with the breath work. We're using those circular connected breaths and we're firing new neural pathways. So we're actually accessing different regions of the brain that we don't usually have the opportunity to access. And then we infuse the hypnosis. And we use hypnosis really to penetrate the subconscious mind, which is the source of your motivations, your habits, your behaviors, your attitudes, emotions, self-talk, all of the things. And we get to now reprogram our subconscious beliefs. So we get to replace those limiting beliefs, those old stories, those flawed perceptions, and then use the visioning, which we just spoke upon, to fire those new neural pathways. So for sustainable behavior change, for visioning, for our most empowered self, living in our purpose, taking action. We talk so much about the person that we want to be. I can see her. I know what she looks like. My higher self would do this. But in breath, you get to actually embody her. You get to step into her. You see the possibilities of just that, endless possibilities. You eliminate your ego. You allow your soul's vision to really come through and it overpowers all of the limiting beliefs of, I can't do this. I'm not worthy enough. And we get to actually see, to feel, and to step into that person that we all desire to be, that life that we all desire. And one of the biggest things that I always say, it's not just a desire. It is truly something we all actually deserve. We think of these things of, I desire to have this, but in reality, we all deserve to have them. We're just not taking intuitive action in order to get them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my favorite parts that you just brought up is the creating new neural pathways. Because when it comes down to it, I remember when I was in school, one of the first things that I had learned was that the brain stops creating new neural pathways by the age of 25. And I was like, fuck, man, what are we supposed to do then? But neurogenesis is real. And like, when you look into studies of Alzheimer's disease, in order to create new neural pathways, in order to create neurogenesis, and also to try to mitigate how soon these onsets happen, they tell you to do things like play chess. But it's like when you're doing something like breath work, you're like, okay, this is on crack. Not only am I developing new neural pathways, but I'm healing old ones that existed and getting rid of ones that are unnecessary, basically.
And I always joke, and I never know how people like take this, but it really is a free drug. Like,
Yeah.
free. You don't have to go to a dealer. You don't have to go to a pharmacist. You don't have to get a prescription. Like, it is literally a free drug that we all have access to. And there's so much research on this. Neuroscience is something that I think a lot of us get scared to talk about, but there's so much research on it right now on how breathwork actually influences the brain and the structure. And we start to shed light on neuromechanics and the underlying effects. It's not just I'm doing breath work. There's effects on cognition, on emotion, on emotional overall well-being. So there's a lot, obviously, that we can go into today. But I think the biggest thing is, connecting with your brain networks is a huge one. It's been actually shown as an activity within various brain networks. So anything involving from your attention to your emotional regulation to self-awareness, you're actually demonstrating change in those neural activity during breath. So during that practice, you're altering states of consciousness and you go to your default network, which is associated with your thinking and your mind wandering. That's where you'll always hear me say, we're turning off our prefrontal cortex. We're silencing that mental chatter, that outside noise, all of that noise that surrounds us. We really want to tune inward and be able to see what's living in there, what's inside of us, just what you said. What is this little 7-year-old Lauren feeling that I have shoved to the side for so long and have not acknowledged, but it still in reality lives inside of me. I am just not taking the time to acknowledge it and bringing it to the surface.
Yeah. It's the psychedelic effect of it and altering the consciousness. My favorite part about breath work in this sense is that there's so many people out there that are like against the taboo of using drugs to alter their consciousness for healing. Yeah. Where it's even for me, I actually just got approved to be able to start doing ketamine treatments. And I'm so fucking excited about it because this is something I think could really like cure my PMDD or like just really help me. But one of the big things is like the safety of that for people or people who are against it's okay. It's breath. All you're doing is breathing. And the thing is like someone once said to me like a couple weeks ago when I was talking about breath work, they were like, of course you're going to feel like that. All you're doing is making yourself hyperventilate. And I'm like, yeah. And that's okay because if you're hyperventilating, you are actually changing your state of consciousness, which is the same thing that a psychedelic does. And but this is a safer way of hyperventilating. You're not, it's like controlled hyperventilation, right?
Yeah. And comments like those, it's just like my whole body cringes because there's so many things that we do to our body that are quote unquote not normal or not good for your body. When in reality, what's good and bad? There was a phase in time, and this is extreme, where chapstick gave you cancer. And it's, come on, we can't live in this bubble for the rest of our life. But I think the difference is it's science, it's proven. When we go into kind of like what you and I have talked about, neuroplasticity and the actual structure changes that happen in breath work, it is proven. Breathwork practices actually induce neuroplastic changes in the brain. So as you're leading to those alterations in your brain structure and connectivity, techniques as altering your breath actually give you the ability to have more mindfulness. They reduce stress and anxiety. They have the ability to actually adapt and to change to sustainable behavior changes. So it is not just I am hyperventilating. There is emotional, there is attention, there is physical, there is cognitive. There's so many things that go into the power of breath. And when you hear comments like that, they happen more than we think. I'm obviously 9 months pregnant, but I did a post the other day, like, is breath work safe for pregnant people? And I had 3 or 4 comments in my DMs. I can't believe you're still doing breath. Are you sure the baby's okay? Do you think that's safe? Like, my whole post was that it's safe. And people were worried if my child was safe. And in reality, there's so many benefits, from brainwave to heightened clarity, creativity, emotional stress relief, nervous system regulation. You can go on. I always joke, but there's endless benefits where we don't have a long enough podcast to talk about it. If we really wanted to get here and do research, even beyond what you and I just know, the benefits are endless. And the creator of HypnoBreathwork, Francesca, she actually posted something, I think yesterday, the day before. And she was like, people say breathwork is, give me a reason why. What is so woo about being able to access an optimal state of peak performance? What is woo about that? HypnoBreathwork has hit the radars. They have hit professional teams in Germany. They have hit the biggest, manliest, buffest men in the world are breathing because there's benefits.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest thing is the awareness of what breath actually does to our body. Something like this, like, the beauty of this conversation is there's so much science behind it. This is not just a fad. It's not just a trend. We're not just breathing because everyone does breath work now. If everyone in this world was breathing, I promise you the world would be such a better place. It
Yeah.
truly. And that's not a biased statement. That is reality.
I'm so sick of people saying that things are just fads and trends as though that's a bad thing. Someone told me that being autistic is a trend the other day, and I was like, it was also a trend when I was in high school, being bisexual. So the world's just becoming more open to everybody, like, being who they are. But one thing I wanted to touch on of what you said is, because, like, when that comment came to me about it just being hyperventilating, I started thinking about it more, and I was like, okay, our body has ways of telling us exactly what we need. And who, like, when you're thinking about a moment when you start hyperventilating, it's telling you that you need to chill the fuck out and that you need to change your consciousness. Like, your body's already telling you this is probably something you need to focus on, is your breath. It's like when you faint, it's telling you that you do not have enough oxygen going to your brain. It's just a signal. And if it's signaling you to be more conscious in your breathing because you're hyperventilating, it's cyclical. It actually is telling you to do the exact thing that we're already talking about.
Yeah. And I think it's amazing because one of the biggest benefits is obviously the stress and anxiety release. That's one of the big ones. And above all, if you don't want to use it for creativity, if you don't want to use it for clarity, create, like, all of the things that us as entrepreneurs use it as, that's fine. But it is 2024, and I promise you are stressed somewhere in your body and you are quote unquote anxious somewhere in your body. It's going to benefit any human being that is blessed enough to be breathing.
Yep.
Yeah. When it goes down to, like, the science that we talk about a lot, I think the beautiful part about going into, and we could talk about the stress and anxiety component of it because it is the most common benefit, I would say, it actually decreases your level of cortisol in your body. So again, back to science, that is your primary stress hormone.
Yeah.
We can't make that up. And those neurochemical changes contribute to the stress reduction and anxiety relieving effects that HypnoBreathwork gives you, that breathwork gives you. I think it's funny that you said people see it as fads and people see it as everyone's doing it, so I'm going to be doing it. In reality, it's something that we should all be doing for ourselves. It is a self-care practice. I really emphasize that enough. I joke with my private clients, like, you get up and make the time to care about hygiene. You get up, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you do what you do, you shower hopefully most days. And in reality, it's the same thing. You're setting 22 minutes aside to be able to take care of yourself. You have the control and you have the power. It truly is a superpower that lives in your back pocket. If you're stressed, breathe. If you're having a creativity block, breathe. You want to move your energy through your body on a cellular level, not just say, One of my favorite things is like, oh, it's okay. I'm just going to get over it. That is hilarious.
No,
Because
because
you're
you'll
not
keep it
gonna
stored
get
in your
over
body forever, and then it'll come up to haunt you for the rest of your life.
I had a friend that told me the other day, she's like, I think what I have to do is just not think about it. And I'm just going to let it go like it didn't happen. I was like, beautiful. So in a year from now, when it comes back to you and it's 8 times bigger of a demon, you let me know. So many benefits. I think the stress and anxiety one we could go off about forever. It's one of the biggest quote unquote things that I think we're experiencing in this day and age. It's very common. I think stress and anxiety is taking over with the world that we give into. And there's so many benefits of being able to regulate your nervous system and being more aware of your emotional well being and activating that parasympathetic nervous system, because that is one of the biggest reasons why we hold on to everything.
Yeah. When we talk even about the part about it being a fad, I almost like when people say that, I get excited because the thing is that if you accidentally stumble upon something, it reminds me of yoga. Like, still, there's those like douchebag yoga people who are like, do you even really get anything out of this? Because you can't tell if you're
Yeah.
just trying to be cool yogi. But if you stumble into it and you're like, everyone's doing yoga, everybody's doing breath work, you're going to find how to feel your own body the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I learned how to feel my own body in yoga and was like, I'm not actually supposed to be looking like that other person at all, because that does not work for me.
Yeah. And when you dive into your nervous system, everything does go back to science. And I think that's why both of us were so passionate about having this conversation is in breath work, and it's any type of deep breathing, to be honest. It could be diaphragm breathing, it could be alternation of nostril breathing. But when you are activating your parasympathetic nervous system, that is actually what's responsible for the body's relaxation response. So by activating it, the breath work counteracts the effects of your sympathetic nervous system. So that's where we really activate that fight or flight mode response. And it promotes a state of calmness.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's literally what it does. And so a lot of times in breath work, we do start to tense up. Your hands may clench. I think it happened to you at the
Lobster
retreat.
claws. It happens to me every time.
It's also called tetany. It really is your fight or flight response kicking into gear. It's telling you, I'm going to protect you today. We're going to tense up. We're going to hold everything in. We're not going to let it move through your body. And we're going to stay right here because I'm going to protect you from feeling. I'm going to protect you from seeing. I'm going to protect you from all of the things that are living inside of you that you are afraid to address, that you're afraid to see, that you're afraid to feel. One of the biggest things with breath work and hypno breath work, any type of deep breathing, is the release. We hold on to so much in our body. If we were just to let go of all that is living inside of us, you're creating space, literally. So as you create that space in your body, that's where we open up our mind to new levels of creativity, to new levels of calmness, to new levels of awareness and mindfulness. So again, the benefits are endless, but one of the biggest ones that I know in this industry and in this just day and age, everyone goes, "Oh, you do breath work, it's stress and anxiety." Yeah, it's a huge part of it, but there's so much more to breathing than just a stressed out human.
Yeah.
Peak performance. It's an optimal tool of consciousness.
I love the way that you reframe it too into positives, because I think that especially with breath work, it reminds me a little bit like Vipassana. Like, it physically can be so uncomfortable and so painful that to be able to reframe that and be like, yes, it's this, but it's also this. And we can be in positive mind. Like, you don't have to be suffering through self-development all the time.
And I think the promotion of just mindfulness and presenceness is something that we're missing so deeply right now. And as you cultivate more mindfulness, you really have the ability to be fully present, engaged in a matter. When your nervous system is regulated, you're bringing your attention to the current moment. So we're living in that present moment that we always say, live in the present moment. That's literally what it does. You're reducing that constant, almost like wheel, that movie that's constantly playing in your head about the past events, the worries, the fear of the future, the stress, the anxiety, what happened, what am I supposed to do next? Who's judging me? What am I doing wrong? Am I worthy? All of these things that are going through our head, we have the opportunity to actually silence them and to regulate them. Regulation of emotions is something that is needed so deeply in this world right now. And we get to tune into our bodies and we get to see, hey, What is not just my ego presenting, but what do I feel at a soul's level?
Mm.
I have a greater sense of control. I have the ability to respond with patience and kindness and regulated response versus just reactive. So there's so much that I think benefits anyone breathing, but especially entrepreneurs in this day and age. We have to run our business from that state.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly stressed and constantly anxious and constantly reactive, doubting ourselves, living in a place from the past. There's no way to actually move forward and there's no way to serve our clients. And even if we are, to crash.
Yep, 100%. Especially with Starlight Synergy School, I knew from day one, I can get very headstrong and one center focused that it's like, it has to be this way. But every time I have felt that in this process, I have intentionally taken a step back and been like, absolutely not. None of this is coming from that kind of mindset. Because if we're going to be able to teach people to live in a state that is what we're talking about, we can't be coming from the state that's the complete opposite and detrimental. Otherwise, bring more of that to the world.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Everyone always says, what is flow state? What is flow state? Isn't breath work for stress and anxiety? Again, we've talked about it. It is for stress and anxiety, but accessing flow state, I think to me is perhaps the most needed and least recognized need of an entrepreneur, but also just a human soul. It really is. So the way that I always describe flow state is it's really that sweet spot where time seems to vanish, your focus, your creativity takes center stage. So your ego literally is falling away. You're locked in, your inner fire is lit, your soul is at its most creative state and it's connected. The words you just used, it's in alignment, you're in flow. So when we're not in flow and we're not accessing that state of being, we're constantly forcing. We're forcing our next offer. We're forcing something because we have the expectation of we have to make money or everyone else is launching, we have to launch. And so when you get a little bit deeper into flow state, it really is a mental state. It's where you're completely tuned in and you're focused on what's happening. And we don't do that very often when we're constantly stressed and we're constantly anxious. And it goes back to everything we talked about today. In flow state, you are literally able to turn off your prefrontal cortex. That monkey chatter, that outside noise, all of these voices in your head that are not yours to carry, they dissipate and they're no longer there. And you get to tune in on the creativity that is actually in you that is being blocked by all of the outside noise. Obviously, flow with low. When I started flow state, I was just like, wow, we talked about this a little bit. I'm not joking. It is an energy boost. You come out of a flow state session and you're like, you can't tell me nothing. I am about to go create. I'm about to go make what I want to make. This feels good. It feels in alignment. I got more done in 2 hours than I have in 3 weeks. And it's a beautiful feeling. It's a natural high. And in this, as even just creating Starlight, there's going to be a lot of times where you're like, F this, I'm throwing in the towel. This is hard. This is not what I signed up for. It shouldn't be this hard. I'm blocked. I have to create something. Nothing's coming to mind. I'm failing. Like these are normal thoughts, but they're a vicious cycle if we don't look inward and address them because you aren't actually upset with the offer that you can't launch. There's a trigger from your past that's living in you. Maybe someone doubted you in the past and you failed. And that is actually the story that you're telling yourself in this moment. Or maybe your parents, when you were 5 years old, said, you're never going to succeed. And now you're afraid if this business doesn't work out, they're going to be right. So there's an intersection for everything that we feel. And I think this goes back to why you're creating what you're creating. The awareness, the education, the science, the knowledge, but also just being able to share this with the community that surrounds us. Because I joke, but I'm not. So for anyone listening, anyone in Katie or my worlds, you do need to be breathing.
Yes.
And I meet people. I've some of my one-on-one clients. I've literally been in person. I'm like, have we done breath work? No, let's do it. And you don't have to do it every day. It's not for you. I will let you think that, but it is for everyone. But we have to at least give it a chance. It took me 3 sessions. This is my career. This is my baby. This is my business. This is my life. I live and breathe breath work, but I didn't like my first session.
Mm-mm.
I'm so transparent with that. You can't go to the gym and say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. And you go to the gym and you worked out and you came home and you're like, screw the gym. I didn't lose 10 pounds today.
That's such a good point.
It doesn't work that way. There's layers. We're constantly peeling. And once we peel a layer, guess what? We're going to find some other shit that's under that layer. And then we got to heal that too.
You might as well start sooner than later.
Because people are like, oh, I'm completely healed. I'm like, really? Who are you? We're constantly evolving.
That's when you know you got something real deep.
That's the beauty of just the life that we live in is we do actually have control. We have tools and modalities such as HypnoBreathwork to bring us back, to bring that awareness, that mindfulness, to regulate our nervous system, to look deep into our subconscious mind. I look at your background, like I get so nerdy. I'm like, it's literally like just diving into that and being like, let's find all the things in the universe that I can't
Oh,
see on a conscious level. And what you're creating is just so beautiful because you're bringing multiple people that are so passionate about the same concept, but have different specialties within that field.
yeah. I'm so
Anyone
happy
can
to be
do
part of
it.
this. So what you were saying before, changing that mindset, I like thought about it in the sense of the flow state of being like, instead of being in survival, you've moved to thrival. And that's like what flow state feels like.
Survive to thrive. It was actually going to be a name of one of my courses.
Now it's coming.
Yeah, survive to thrive, but someone already has it.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So I think that's a beautiful way to put it. It's not just surviving. And a
yeah.
lot of us live in survival mode and we get very used to it. We talked about this in our weekly biz and breath session last week. And our bodies are so comfortable with the norm of things keep happening to you that are quote unquote bad. If you're constantly living in what's the next bad thing that could happen? I'm ready for it. I'm so used to bad things happening. That is your norm. So sometimes to go into breath actually scares people because they come out so motivated and so inspired and so excited. Oh my gosh, this can't be real, can't be true. Something's going to have to happen that goes against this sooner or later. So
Like
there is
the nervous system isn't like ready to accept their bigness yet.
a trust factor to it. And you've done breath with me before. I always use the line, trust your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Trust it. Let it be the guide, let it take control. Because if you're constantly trying to control the outcome, you will. Your
Mm.
mind is very powerful, but you do have to let go. You do have to surrender. Because when you do, it allows you to rise above those fears. You're amplifying your confidence, your courage, you're developing that relationship that is so important with your intuition, and you're shifting your entire mindset. And that's where you're going to start to elevate your emotional state. And like we talked about, it becomes a natural energy boost. You are excited for what happens next.
Yeah.
Instead of the fear of the unknown, we are so inspired and motivated to not know what's happening next, but we have control to create it. We know it can be our reality, that highest version of ourselves that we always talk about, instead of just saying, God, I wish I could be her. Ah, she's so confident. Screw that. Embody her. Step into her. You are her. She is already here. You just have to trust that. And
Yeah.
you have to believe that and you have to feel that. And that is exactly the dopamine hit that you get in breath work.
I still have the vision in my mind from the last
Yeah.
breathwork session we did at Follow Your Magic, and I still
Oh,
hold
yeah.
it in my mind for my future self. I'm like, I still see
I
exactly
I have a picture of you. I have a video of you, and you're just like, it was like floating in your background, and it's beautiful to watch too. I think as a facilitator, seeing and experiencing other individuals' journeys is so special because you feel an entire shift. And energy, as we experienced at the retreat, really does. There is energy exchange. And you're going to feel that from the people surrounding you. And we joke, but it's not a joke. I can tell when people breathe and when they don't.
Mm.
And you can't, unfortunately. And that's okay. You can't force anyone into doing something, but it is such a powerful tool that for me personally, I'm sharing it not because I want to shove HypnoBreathwork down everyone's throat, but I genuinely believe it's going to enhance and better you as an individual and your life and your relationships.
Yep.
So when it comes to HypnoBreathwork, it's actually not just about us. It's about the way we treat others. It's about the way we respond to others. It's about the way that we show up as a friend, sister, wife, cousin, whatever. And it's a state of being. I've had times now, I have a 2-year-old, and anyone with a 2-year-old boy, patience sometimes doesn't exist. They like to press your buttons till they're broken, and then they still press them even more. And my son's amazing. And there are days where I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to lose it. And I hear people all the time, I don't know how you have so much patience. Like, you're such a good mom. And I will tell you, I do take pride in that. I love my son dearly, but a lot of it has to do with breath.
Mm.
I breathe so I can be a good mom. I breathe so I can have that patience. Last weekend, this is a real story. I was so overwhelmed. I looked at my husband and I said, I'm going to breathe. I shut the door and I just went and breathed. I don't know if my son was okay. Sorry for anyone listening. CPS. He was in the house. Doors were closed. Husband was here. But in that moment, I knew if I did not take myself into breath, I wasn't going to be that really good mom that everyone sees me as. But I had the tool in my back pocket and I
Yeah.
had access to it to regulate myself in that moment. We're humans. It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to stress out. There's things that when your nervous system feels that way, there's a reason behind it. Listen to your body. It could be something as simple as lack of sleep, or it could be something deeper of, I remember this moment when I was little and I didn't like it. I felt scared then. And now as an adult, I feel scared again.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do something about it. We can't just say, oh, I was anxious all day yesterday. Let's move forward.
Yep.
Let's figure out why you were anxious all day yesterday. That's how we make the shifts. That's where the sustainable behavior change comes in. It's not just talking about it. We're actually taking the work and taking action on it.
Yeah. It's so fucking powerful, man. For
I
sure.
know for a fact the science and education component of HypnoBreathwork is where people get overwhelmed.
Mhm.
I've had clients tell me, if I were to come in and tell you, you're going to feel amazing, you're going to have clarity, and you're going to be able to step into the highest version of you. Or if I'm going to tell you, you're firing new neural pathways and you're accessing altered states of consciousness, which one would you choose? And I had a client literally tell me, I don't know what the hell that was, but can we go back to my higher self? And it was, I might have to find the recording. And I stood there for a moment and I was like, okay, but this is what we're talking about here. The science is very important, but the emotional state, the
Mhm.
way that it makes you feel is going to be 10 times more important of the overthinking. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Is it safe? Is it not safe? Try it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Experience it and you'll never go back.
You're not going to die from breathing.
I'm still here and breathe through 2 kids and a lot of trauma. We're still alive.
I do want to point out, so I found an article, which I'm really happy I came across when I was looking at articles for this podcast. And it was specifically on the contributions from anthropology to the field of psychedelic science. So I'm just going to read this just for awareness to the community. And then I'm going to move on to asking you questions. So, although the discipline's beginnings went hand in hand with colonialism, it has made significant contributions to the understanding of indigenous knowledge systems. Furthermore, recent calls to decolonize our theoretical frameworks and methodology, notably the ontological turn, open up the space for engaging meaningfully with the indigenous worldviews. At the critical juncture of the psychedelic renaissance, it is important to reflect on whether the current model is satisfactory and on ways to decolonize psychedelic science. What we need is a shift in paradigm, one that will acknowledge the validity of indigenous worldviews as equal partners to scientific inquiry. Acknowledging the contributions of indigenous knowledges to psychedelic science is necessary and needs to go hand in hand with attempts to revise biomedical models to be more inclusive in substantial ways. The paper does not argue for the abandonment of the scientific paradigm, rather for the abandonment of its privileged position. Decolonizing psychedelic science will require allowing multiple perspectives to coexist and contribute equally to our efforts going forward. And I just wanted to read that specifically too, just because a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about have to do with psychedelic science. And not only that, the basis of our values at Starlight Synergy School is inclusivity and DEI. So I wanted to make sure to bring that in here for people to recognize that it's funny when people say this is a fad, this is new age, when it's literally, this has been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, I had a post on Instagram quite some time ago. If you research the start of breathwork, none of us were here.
Yeah.
Neither were our parents, neither were great grandparents or great grandparents, or as far back as you want to go. Breathwork has been around for a very long time. And this theory of its woo, to me, it stems from fear.
Mm-hmm.
The only people at this point who are saying it is woo is the people that are afraid to try it.
Yeah.
They're afraid to feel. They're afraid to step out of their comfort zone. Their fear of judgment. What are other people going to think of me? I've had people in my community. We have a very diverse community. And they'll say, "Are you kidding me? My people back home would laugh at me if I told them I did hypnobreathwork." I've had clients tell me, "Oh my God, Lauren, I'm from the South. My family would not accept this." And those are valid statements.
Yeah.
Because if we're not exposed to it and it's not something that we are used to seeing, it is woo. But once you bring it into your world and you bring the awareness to it and you learn, it's the same thing with anything that we do. If you're open to learning about it, you can make your own decision from there.
But also,
Yeah.
what's so wrong with woo? The thing about this is, even though it is woo, people consider it.
Yeah.
You can science is looking at the patterns and recognizing the patterns of things that exist in the world. This is recognizing a pattern and the benefits that it has for our world.
I think it's ignorance. And I fully admit this because I was ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't do breath work for so long. My business failed when I first started. I was like, what is happening? I thought as a breath work coach, and I apologize if this offends anyone, but it's Katie and Lauren. I thought I had to be some hippie in the forest, kumbayaing, not wearing deodorant, no makeup. I literally had this perception of what I had to look like or to become or to act like if I was going to be a breathwork coach. I love heels. I love dresses. I love throwing some hairspray and some makeup on and a good night out. And trust me, I love my tequila. Not now, but and I stopped doing all of those things. I was like, if I am this sassy, classy, bougie version of Lauren, I can't teach breath. And you know what that got me? 0 clients because I was trying to be someone that I wasn't.
Yep.
And as soon as I went back and I threw my fedora on and I put them curls in my hair and I had that crop top on at a professional event, people started magnetizing to me and they started becoming more and more open to, holy shit, I'm like her and she does breath. Maybe I'll try it. The amount of people that are in my world that if you were to judge a book by its cover, my community jokes. People don't think I do breath. Look at me. What does that even mean? Because if you are blessed enough to be breathing, breathe. It doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what you identify as. Doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't matter your sex, your orientation. I don't care. You have the power of breath with you, which means you deserve to breathe. And it is something that we all deserve to do. And I think it's a privilege. There are people who can't breathe and are dying to experience this beautiful journey that we have, this drug that we have, they can't experience, but we can. So why not do it?
Yeah. That's such a good point. Actually, I wanted to ask you this in the beginning because I was very surprised that you
Ask all the questions.
you said in the beginning that your husband is the one who inspired you to go to breath work. So I was curious because I'm like, first off, I think it's weird that a man's telling a woman to go to breath work like that. Like just in our society today, I feel like that's not something people would expect. It would be more like a woman being like, you need to come to breath work with me. But which is what's the stereotypical of being like, this is like the masc and femme versions of our world. But I was curious because I'm like, did he know about breathwork before you? And how did he know about breathwork and to tell you to go?
Sorry, Barack. My husband's an MVP. I say it not just on interviews or in public. Like, I genuinely think he is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me. And it's been 10 years. So it's not honeymoon, little new crush. I am so inspired and so in awe of this man that it truly makes me want to be a better person. And my husband still wakes up. I do not. I sleep. He wakes up at like 6 a.m., he puts his headphones in while we're in bed, and he does a whole meditation session before I'm even awake. He
Wow.
meditates every morning. He is such a believer in God, and he is non-dominational. We believe in a higher being, and the universe does guide us. And the universe is in our favor. And he has a very spiritual side to him. And I think when we think of spiritual, we automatically connect to religion. When
Mhm.
we say the word spiritual, a lot of people are like, "Oh, God." And that's fine, whatever you believe in, but there are so many spiritual practices that allow you to strengthen your spirituality and then strengthen your relationship with your intuition,
Mhm.
to believe and to trust and to have something and someone to believe in. So my husband actually has done breath work multiple times, and I was like, "I'm not doing that shit." Plain and simple. You wanted some cool answer. I was just like, "Nope, not for me." I do understand when people turn it down because I was like, "I'm not gonna sit there and expand my belly and inhale, and that looks so weird, and what is happening? I see people on the floor on Instagram, and they're having, like, these seizures, and not for me. I'm not that girl." So, I didn't join him, and his mom actually, for a while, we've been together for 10 years. And in the beginning, anytime we'd go back home to Atlanta, his mom was doing meditations in the morning. I was like, this lady
Wow.
meditates
That's
every
so cool.
morning. I can't even sit there for 2 minutes. She does it for 20. So I was just always intrigued, but not convinced. And it actually started before the breath work. He is the one who got me into therapy. He's, I love you. He has 2 psych degrees. I know what's going on. I know where this is going, but I am not your psychiatrist. And if you want us to work, it was a very hard conversation. He's like, I need you to be happy with you first before we will ever be happy. And if that is without me, that's without me, but it needs to start with you. So I don't want to say he gave me an ultimatum, but he was like, you need to find happiness in your own body or we're not going to work.
Wow.
And I was like, damn it. I really like this guy. And
Yeah.
that
I mean,
could mean that could mean he might not be with me. Like, I gotta get my shit together. So I ended up going to therapy and I was like, I hate this. They keep asking me how I feel. I feel like shit. And that's where anyone out there listening, please continue to go to therapy if you're in
yes.
therapy. And if you're not, therapy is very good. But talk
Also, if
therapy,
you don't like your therapist, make the
we
effort to
have one.
find one you like because
We
there
have
are
therapy.
ones. There are
Yeah.
good ones that exist. There are a lot of bad ones that exist. Keep
Yeah.
looking for a good one.
Yeah, and I went to therapy and I was like, "This is great," and I'm so glad I started with therapy before breath work, and we talk a lot about talk therapy, and in this world, there's only so much talking you can do. Talking is very beneficial, it is very powerful, and it is very needed, but being able to actually step back into a memory and feel it and see it, that's why when you go into hypnosis, when you go into EFT and tapping and breath work and hypno breath work and all of these things, it is a different level of consciousness. So, talk therapy is amazing. Gonna repeat that for all of the people who give a shit when we say that. Keep going to therapy. But for me personally, there was almost only so much talking about something that I could do
Agreed.
because I'm great at fake it till you make it. I
Mhm.
could go through 8 therapy sessions and hold my guard and be like, "No, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm fine. It's okay." But when I go into breath, there's no hiding it.
You can't hide that shit at all. It's
You don't
like,
care. Breath doesn't care how strong you want to be. Those feelings and those emotions and those tears, they are going to come out. And for me personally, a therapist was not able to do that.
Mm.
It scratched the surface for me and it gave me the opportunity to start to open up and to realize when I felt resistance in my body because a therapist asked me something, I started to have the self awareness of, oh shit, I'm having resistance for a reason. It's
Mhm.
very easy to say out loud, I'm okay, but I am feeling extremely heavy right now. And when you take that into breath, it all comes out. You see it in detail, you feel the emotions, colors, you're using your senses. And I don't care what you don't want to feel. My loves, you are going to feel it. Breath does not care.
Yep.
So, yeah, that we, as always, we get off track together and I love it. But he started me out on my journey and I'm forever thankful for it. I really am. I have moments where I find myself where I go a day or two. I know it doesn't seem extreme, but it is for me. And he'll look at me and he's, have you breathed? And I'm like, "No." He's, "Please take 20 minutes."
Oh,
And it's with love. It's not he's not being rude. It's
yeah.
not snarky, but he knows that's my outlet. And if I'm not doing it, it everything bottles up. We're human. It just layers on top of each other. And eventually, just like anything, if you fill it to the top, it is going to explode. So we can't just keep shoving emotions and triggers and old stories and feelings and wounds on top of each other. There's only so much of a capacity that our body can hold. And breathwork gives you the opportunity to release it, to empty out that cup, to empty out that full whatever you're filling up to the top, which in this case, it's our body. Our body can only hold on to so much.
Yeah. That is so incredible that he's the one that turned, because I know that I know a lot of people, and it's usually the role reversal that have a lot of issues in their relationships, especially when they do start like getting onto a path of self-healing, and then they want their partner to be on the path with them and they won't. And I see it more often where it's a woman who gets in the path of self-healing and then her husband or her boyfriend won't buy into the shit that she's doing and is just it's just her thing, which I think is very dismissive and very rude, but that's not what we're talking about today. And so I just think that it's really incredible and such a beautiful thing when people can have a partner that is on the journey with them. And not only that, but like looking out for their well-being. Like him telling you to go breathe is him being like, take care of yourself in a good way. Like you said, it's so beautiful that exists.
And it
Uh,
was a fear of mine. It was a big fear of mine. Once I got deeper and deeper into breath, I'm like, oh God, I don't actually don't like going to the same places that we used to go to. I
mhm.
don't like being in massive, huge crowds at 2 a.m. with blasting music. My nervous system doesn't like it,
Yep.
even though that's what we did for so many years at the beginning. And it's just like you said, finding that support. He'll be like, go home, babe. It's good. We're good. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, so I don't have to hide the person that I've quote unquote become. And I don't necessarily think it's someone that I became. I
Mm,
think it's who I always was, but I was living in a world of people pleasing. Whatever people expected of me, I did. The
yep.
person people expected me to be, I was. Oh, Lauren's a social butterfly. Oh, yeah, this and that. I lived up to that. But in reality, I am a full force generator. Like, I need to charge my battery or it is bad. And I
Mhm.
wasn't charging my battery. I was going because everyone expected me to go. But that led me nowhere. Nowhere good.
Just
Nowhere good.
just a shameless plug, but that's why my book's called Remember Who the Fuck You Are. Because that's true. The unlearning process of who you actually are, because it's almost like you want to hold on to it and be like, but I loved these things. Like, this is part of my identity, like going out and doing stuff like that. And it's like, you're allowed to let go. You're allowed to enjoy different things and you're allowed to not like the things you used to like. You're allowed to change your fucking mind whenever the fuck you want. And it's so weird how we like will hold on to aspects of our personality as though it's us as an essence, as a human being, as a soul or something.
It's evolving. I think of it now. I used to think of it as, oh God, everyone's going to hate me or, oh, I'm going to be judged. And now I'm like, I feel freaking fantastic. I am the girl last Friday. one of my friends was like, "What are you doing tonight?" I was like, "Oh shit, it's Friday. I'm in my pajamas on my couch watching a movie with a hot cup of tea." Like, that's okay, but it is best of both worlds. If my battery is full and I wanna go out, oh, best believe I will throw on some heels and a dress.
Yeah.
I love it, but I have to want to do it. I no longer force myself to do things that I don't feel in alignment with, and I truly do believe that's because of breath.
That's
I
awesome.
do believe there's an intersection there, and I've been able to find who I want to be because I have found the confidence. I have found the clarity. I have found the regulation. I have found all of these things that I was seeking for so long. And instead of going out and doing that to cope, I do it on the days I actually enjoy it.
This makes my heart feel so good talking to you. And honestly, you're like reigniting my want to do breath every day. Cause I do breath not as often as I could be doing, or I hate the shit. What words can we use instead of shit? Or I don't,
I am capable of.
I am capable of doing it much more. And I will get to do it much more in my future.
I'll say it is a practice. It's like
Yeah.
anything that we do. What is God, I'm gonna murder this and everyone in this industry is gonna be like, come on, Lauren. What is it? 21 days to form a habit?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So just like with
You
anything,
got
it's
it.
20 days to form a habit. With anything that you do, it does take time. I promise you, I did not go into HypnoBreathwork and I was like, oh, this is so easy to do this every day.
Oof.
I would have days where I was like, no, this is not happening. I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I'm over it. I want to go back to sleep, or I have 17 appointments. And even now, I try to do it every single morning. It is the intention, but I'm home alone with my son in the morning. And as much as I would love to do the whole get up before him, I'm 9 months pregnant. It doesn't work that way. I will sleep until I hear him. And so for me, my schedule has changed a little bit and I can feel it, but it's still what's best for me. So instead of breathing as soon as I wake up now, I'll get him to school and they come home and I have my sacred time to be in silence, to have the house to myself and to breathe.
Mm,
And until I do that, I know my day's not going to start the way that I want it to.
yep.
And I'll use the phrase sometimes, you know what? I'm going to breathe and start my day over.
I like that.
I do mean that
That's
because if
so
I
good
find,
because we just let one thing ruin our entire fucking day. And we're like, I guess that's the end of my day.
and I've had days like that, everything you could think of goes quote unquote wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm over it. It's 9 AM and I'm over the whole day. And I've actually say it out loud. I joke with a lot of my clients that do this. Start talking to yourself. You are the best friend you will ever have. And I will do it. I'm like, fuck this, Lauren. We're starting our day over.
Oh, I love that.
And
Your own
I
bestie.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go into breath. And if you still feel that way, and usually I'm like, oh, I'm actually okay. I just wish I would have had 10 more minutes. Oh, I'm actually stressing about a project that's due in 2 weeks that I don't need to do today. Why am I trying to get this forced today?
Mm,
I'll send it to you, but I created a session called My Perfect Day, and it was selfishly for me.
mhm.
It's a way to just go back into breath and say, okay, what's heavy in my body? Why am I feeling this? Breathe it the hell out. And what would my perfect day look like? And when you get asked that question of what my perfect day will look like, it doesn't mean flowers and chocolates and a walk on the beach and to end up in Hawaii. My perfect day is a sense of peace.
Yeah.
My perfect day is feeling good in my body. My perfect day is feeling productive. My perfect day is tuning in onto what I need today. Maybe my perfect day is taking a nap.
Mm,
Being able to go into breath and seeing what your perfect day looks like, not someone else's, because the amount of times we get up, which we're all guilty of, and go on social media and we're like, holy shit, this person has already done this and they already did this. And someone posted their whole morning routine. They've already worked out and journaled, and I'm still in my husband's sweats. And now I'm mad at myself. Rewiring that and saying, this is my perfect day, not the next person's. And I have the ability to control what the rest of the day looks like.
one thing I do want to highlight and explain to listeners is that In Starlight Synergy School, I am really taking a lesson from the practitioners. I am getting certified in breathwork right now, and I am certified in the modalities that are part of Starlight Synergy School. But I have amazing people in my life who are fucking experts, who are incredible at what they do. And obviously, I want to highlight them, but I also want to, like, part of this school is letting them create these programs as well and see what has worked with their clients and how to create programs moving forward in Starlight Synergy School. So when I ask these questions to you, Lauren, I'm almost asking you in a sense of what your vision is. I love to know the creativity and the inspiration behind the practitioners and what they envision, not just what I envision. The first one would be, how is HypnoBreathwork incorporated into the courses at Starlight Synergy School?
Yeah. I love this question, which we've talked about a little bit. I think it's incorporated everywhere and anywhere that it can be.
Yep.
And the reason why I truly do believe that is we can take anything that we're learning, we can take any topic and we can take it into breath. So I think that's one of the things that I am most excited about is being able to incorporate this where it is needed, not just because we're trying to put a modality in and fill some space. The beautiful part about this is Starlight Synergy School has so much in it that we're going to be able to use multiple different benefits of hypnobreathwork within this. So we are going to be able to see the stress and anxiety aspect side of things. We are going to be able to go a little bit more into the fiery new neural pathways. We are going to be able to go into behavior change. And we also are going to be able to experience the creativity and the flow state. So I think that's one of the things that I'm most excited about is being able to experience multiple different types of sessions within hypnobreathwork because as I full-heartedly admitted, sometimes one session isn't enough.
Yep.
Sometimes you do need to do it multiple times. And for some people, there are different types of breath work that they do enjoy more than others. And that's okay. When I talk about breath work, I'm not asking every single person to only do hypno breath work. I don't care what type of breathing you do, but breathe, look inward, get into your body. So I am excited to incorporate multiple different types of session into one place so people can experience all the different worlds of it.
I love how what you just said is also just like a testament to the human being that you are, that you're like, I don't care what kind of breathing you're doing, just breathe. You're like, this is how much I care about you. It doesn't have to be what I'm telling you, but please just do it.
And I think experiencing it yourself is one thing, and that's obviously one of the reasons why I believe in it so much is this is not just something I studied. I didn't just go and get certifications. I didn't read a book and I'm just teaching. It has drastically changed my life. It has been the biggest catalyst for me professionally and personally. And that's where you'll see in my business is I will tell every single person that I work with, we do not separate the two. You have business coaches that tell you you have to leave your personal life out of this. No, your personal life is just as important and your well-being is just as important of anything that we're going to do in your business
Yeah.
because they have to coincide with each other. Personal and professional do become one and the same. We've lived in a society for so long. Don't bring your personal life into work.
I've never believed that bullshit my entire life. My first time I ever made a resume, I made it purple, green, and orange. And my parents were like, you will never get hired with that resume. And I
Actually,
did.
sorry,
And I was like, fuck that. I am never going to be, because like I cannot stand it. I'm like, there's no personal and there's no professional Katie. There's just Katie. And I can't stand, just like you said, this society that we have created that makes it that we compartmentalize our beings into different people. Like, it's crazy.
I've had business coaches who have told me, like, on your stories, we have to post less of family and personal. And I'm like, then you're not the coach for me because I don't care what I am teaching. My son will always be on my story. He
Yeah.
is a part of me. He drives me. I do breath work for him. I will send you the video when we get off here. I have a video of solo breathing.
I
He
was
goes,
just going to ask you about your kids. Yeah.
mad mommy. And he sees me do breath work. My first video ever after I had him was a video of him on the couch in a little DockATot. And I was lying next to him doing a breathwork session. I created my first program.
Oh,
So it's something that for our kids as well, especially the day and age that we live into, the resources that kids have, fighting, violence, Ninja Turtles killing each other, whatever it is, our kids have access to it. And I think the beautiful part about being able to teach them young, you're able to regulate your nervous system. If you take a deep breath, you will feel better. And I'm not bringing my son into a breathwork session or having him go into hypnosis, but it is something to bring awareness to at a younger age versus everyone in our world right now. We found breath at 20, 30, 40. And if I would have found breath in my younger years, oh, you guys just better be glad that I didn't.
Yeah. We would have taken
I would
over
be
the whole world.
Yeah, no, literally, and I still plan to, but finding it at a younger age, I just think is so powerful. Shout out to Francesca, who's the creator of HypnoBreathwork. We have an app called Mastery, and she actually just launched a kids series.
Oh,
And it's a little bit different of a breathing pattern, but they're 8 minutes, they're kids series, and they are for kids. And they give kids the opportunity to see what it feels like to be able to experience a regulated nervous system. We have this belief that we have to wait till we're adults to work on ourselves. That is not true. It starts from a young age. That is when we're programmed. We're not programmed as adults.
yep.
We're programmed as children.
Your entire subconscious is formed by the age of 7. So all of your beliefs,
Here,
everything has just been there
there.
since
Those act like money. Money is the biggest one.
then.
Majority of your money beliefs are not yours. They're not even yours. They're your caregivers. They're your moms. They're your dads. You didn't create those. Someone instilled them into you, and then you carried with them your whole life because that's what you were taught.
So this next question I have for you is, how do you tailor breathwork practices to meet individual student needs?
I love customized sessions. Like they just fuel my heart. It's just a different level of intensity, of release, of clarity. Group sessions are still obviously near and dear to me. That my people ask me all the time, like, you still take one-on-ones? Yeah, I do. And I love them. They're my favorite sessions to do. How to tailor breathwork sessions, I don't think there is a how to. I think it's just intuitively done. For
Okay.
me, it's just trusting, it's listening, it's trusting your intuition. When I always use the phrase, I intuitively make sessions for my one on ones, I truly mean that. All of my one on one sessions are a little bit longer. Instead of the 60 minutes, they're 90 minutes. And we start with a simple, how are you? Update me on life. How's it going? What's going on in your world? And active listening is going to be one of the biggest things is figuring out what is this individual's needs. What do they need? If I have a session planned, which you never plan ahead of time, let's go into stress relief today. And they're like, oh, I feel great today. I'm like creating a course and I
Oh
like
my
want to
God.
expand this knowledge. I'm not going to take them into a stress session when they're in a complete state of flow. So it really is just active listening and then intuitively creating. A lot of people, I love, love, love the response of, "Oh my gosh, where do you get your sessions from?" It's my favorite question ever. Like, it's asked more than you will ever know, and I love that
A
question.
weird question though, because what did they think you would just get them from somewhere?
There's a lot of meditations or
Oh,
scripts
that's
that
true.
I
Yeah.
can record them, or you go into meditation, you find someone else's music. So in Hypno Breathwork, we actually create all of our own playlists. We create the entire experience and the journey. We create every cue, everything that you hear us say, do. A lot of it is intuitive. I've stopped scripting sessions. I will have song 1 with 2 words, song 2 with 2 or 3 words, and you go with that. You have to trust your intuition as a facilitator because every individual is different. If I did a stress and anxiety session with you and I did a stress and anxiety with someone else, they probably wouldn't be the same session, even though it's the same topic, because
Yeah.
you're different individuals with different needs. So tailoring them is something that I do think, I'm not saying I have this special talent, but it does take very attentive listening. It does take care. It does take love. It does take experience. My first few sessions, I was like, how do people do this? I was so frustrated in the beginning. Like, how do all of these coaches just make thousands of playlists? Like, took me 4 hours to make one.
Mm.
And then you just start trusting. A lot of my sessions come to me in breath.
Oh, that's so cool.
Almost, I would say 90%. That might be lowballing it, but almost every session that I've created, I'm in breath and I'm like, wow, this is a journey. I could create something based off of this. And then you can start picking and choosing. I have about 100 playlists and they're all labeled. So I know if I have to go to more of a release session, I'll go to my release session. Sometimes I will make playlists on the spot. I'll take songs from different playlists and I'll put them together and we go with it. But you have to trust your intuition as a guide because every individual's needs is different. And if you're not fully owning and fully trusting what you're capable of, your client's going to feel it.
I could feel, even though I've only done group sessions with you, there's no way. I remember thinking the first time that we ever did that at Follow Your Magic, I remember thinking to myself, number one, yes, how the fuck did she do that? But number two, you are so intuitively matched with your playlist and the words that you're saying that there was never one point that I was like, where'd she get this? In my mind, I was like, how the fuck does this just flow through her? Literally, it's like flow with low because I'm like, you can tell that it's like, it's speaking through you. The universe is speaking through you and it's coming so naturally and effortlessly, and you can feel your emotion.
And that makes me more happy than you'll ever know because the playlist at Follow Your Magic, I actually made as I was listening to you guys talk. Like,
I wanted to ask you because I was like, especially the last one, like the last playlist that was done on that day when we were outside, I was like, this bitch purposely, she is
so
attaching
good.
us.
It was so good. I have to leak the videos. Mel
freaking
got them, but I was having a full on rave dance party, get down, cry session. I lost it in two of this. I like hysterically crying. I let you guys breathe for a little bit longer because I could not get myself together. I was so tapped into the emotions of the song and
Yeah.
so tapped into all of your energy. I had a whole dance party in song 4 and 5. Song 6, I was back on that table and I was 23 years old. Like the entire playlist, that one, I just makes me so happy to hear you say that. But that was actually created. We had a playlist created already. I had a playlist created. And during that last workshop, I went into the room and I closed the door and literally channeled every coach, every attendee, and was just like, what does each person need? And what is their personality? What have we talked about? And what's going to hit home? Like, where do I see people still do need to let go of a little bit more? And where do we need to bring people back into a state of light? And when that playlist was going and you saw the emotions in that room, I was like,
I'm
this,
literally crying right now thinking about it because that's how I was like an attack in the best way possible. I mean that in the like in the most,
attacked by your music and your cute.
because it's, I don't know if you know this about me, but I used to be a spin instructor. And this entire time that you've been talking about breath, it reminds me so much of when I used to do spin because I fucking hated spin. The first time I went, I was like, I'm never going to a spin class again. And then I became a spin instructor.
Not for
And
me.
yeah. And my favorite part of being a spin instructor was making the playlist, but I always made it emotional. And when I would speak to people as I was like doing the workouts, it was like when I was going through a breakout. So I was like, this is a song I listen to when I'm like pissed off at my ex. And but I used cues, like it's not breath work, but I used cues to trigger people's emotions. And I loved that. And so when you say that you get to do that, I'm like, that's like the coolest job ever is like making these
But
playlists. You come into tune with people's emotions and regulate their nervous systems. You're a
not
wizard.
not to sound like conniving, I don't know what the word would be for it, but I let my playlist, like, when I'm getting ready sometimes, even when I'm in the shower, I'll play random playlists and I'll just let them play, and I'll have moments. I'm like, "Oh, someone's gonna lose it," or, "Oh, that one's gonna hurt," and I'll put it in a playlist. It's so
What?
bad, but you start to think we are so provoked based off of sounds, our senses, what we see, what we feel, what we touch is what we're going to experience. And music is so powerful. And that's why I think I love HypnoBreathwork. It's because we have the ability to create that experience.
Yep.
And a lot of other breath work, it's very one sound. And you're on a journey, which is a beautiful journey, but you just stay there. That's my favorite part about HypnoBreathwork is, yes, we can have this massive release, and yes, we can go into, the root and these old stories and these old wounds, but we don't have to stay there. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have to come out of a session and be like, now I'm gonna go curl in a ball and cry because I can't shake this feeling. Just as if you've experienced in HypnoBreathwork, we do go through that process. But then we get to rewire those emotions, and then we get to visualize our higher self, and then we get to step into her, and then we get to actually find the clarity on the actions that we need to take in order to become her. By the time you get out of breath, you're like, that was an entire journey,
Yeah.
experience where I went from hurting, crying, releasing, realization, an epiphany, and now I'm just the baddest bitch in the room, all in one session.
Yep. That the craziest part about that session specifically is that you opened up with the song Arizona Sky. I'm going to cry right now, even thinking about it. You opened up with the song Arizona Sky, which is the song that I was in the process of learning how to sing with my voice coach at the time, who was taking me through cognitive behavioral therapy with voice lessons. And it was also my song for me and Langdon's relationship when we broke up. And it was also the song that I put on my playlist for Follow Your Magic. So it was like every single mark of that song. And then when it played, I instantly lost it. I cried the entire time. And I remember going through, because even just like you said, all the different emotions. So I'm like in that process, I'm listening to that song. Part of me in that moment was like, are me and Langdon going to stay together? So the first thing that went through my brain, and it's funny how you say like things become different, because in my brain, I was just like, oh, like the logical part of me is this is my sign. Me and Langdon are breaking up. We are not meant to be together. This is my goodbye to him. Arizona Sky is my goodbye to him while I'm in fucking Arizona, like all these things, right? Then the end of it is me like stepping into my higher self, and I envision that stuff, and I'm like, I'm leaving him behind. I'm never going to see him again. And I was like crying at the end of that because I was like, this is my goodbye. Then when I get back and finally like everything has been integrated and I've like fully been able to absorb that moment, and even looking back now, I'm like, that moment was not what I logically tried to create it to be. It was literally my goodbye to who we used to be, not to him. It was literally goodbye to our past relationship and who we are now. And it,
And
it
we
was life changing.
Thank you
Like,
so much for sharing that, Katie. It's so special to hear. I saw your journey. We talked a lot in the integration, but just to address what you did say, one, so beautiful. Like those realizations are so special, but it happens a lot. But in working out, I always go back to that scenario because there's a lot of comparisons, but it's like the DOMS effect. Like sometimes you have the best session of your life, but you're not sore till 2 or 3 days later versus the next day. So in breath, it's very similar. Sometimes you'll go into breath and you're like, nothing came up for me today. And then 2, 3 days later, you're like, holy shit. I saw that. That meant this. I've had people who are like, oh, yeah, for some reason, nothing really came up for me today. I just saw a dove. I was in a forest. I saw my mom. I was 3 years old again. This happened and that happened. But for some reason, nothing came up. Like, so
sounds like a
wow,
whole lot
nothing
came
came
up.
up. And it happens a lot. I have sessions still to this day where I'm going in for an answer. And this is a phrase that I will never apologize for using too much, but breathwork will always find the highest emotional charge. I
Mm,
don't care. My breath does not care. If I'm going into breath and I'm like, I need to find what my last module of this course is going to look like, and my breath takes me back till 6 years old and I'm crying because of something that someone did to me, that's where I need to be.
yeah.
Maybe I'm blocked in not creating this module because I'm not believing in myself. It has nothing to do with creativity. You have to address the blocks prior to being able to access whatever we're seeking in that moment.
Yep.
We talk a lot about have to heal in order to grow. I'm a big believer, and there's a lot of talk of this in the industry, but we always want bigger. We always want more. But that doesn't mean we're ready for bigger. Doesn't mean we're ready for more. I
Mhm.
could want to be an 8-figure business owner. That's amazing. But in reality, what that takes I don't have the capacity for right now. I know I'm going to get there and I know that's my destination and even further. But right now, it doesn't matter how much I want to explode. In my current state of life and being, I'm not ready for that level of business. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it just means I'm not there yet. So we always have this want and this desire to need more and to want more. And that's another reason why. Take it into breath. What do you need in this current moment? Instead of thinking about how do I get to 5 years from now? How the hell do we get till tomorrow? How do I get to
Yeah.
Saturday? That's all I'm worried about. How do I get to Saturday and Sunday? And if we truly start practicing that daily on how do I get to the next step? As you've been in breath with me before, we end every song. Every last song is what is your next intuitive action step? What
Oh,
is your next
yeah.
action step that you can do? Because we can have the most beautiful journey. We can have the deepest relief. We can rewire those beliefs. We can vision our higher self. But if we just come out of breath and continue on, guess what? Nothing is going to happen and nothing is going to change.
And I'm
But
so
it,
grateful. Oh, sorry. What were you
yeah,
saying?
no, it's just the action is the biggest component of it. As beautiful as breathwork, hypnosis, and visioning is, if you don't take action on what came up for you in breath, you are right back to where you started.
Yeah. One of my favorite sayings is from Bishop TD Jakes because I love listening to motivational playlists. And most of my motivational playlists are TD Jakes and Eric Thomas yelling at me because I just love black men yelling at me for some reason. It gets me real hyped. And it says new levels bring new devils, and that on your journey, it's not an elevator, it's an escalator, and it's every day take another step. And it's funny because for the past year, I haven't really let myself listen to those motivational playlists because I realized they were having a toxic overproductivity aspect on my mind. And so I had to rearrange it in my brain to be like, this isn't for productivity anymore. It's for joy. So now I do it for joy. But so I listened to it for the first time in a while the other day. And as he was saying it, I was just like, I was remembering last year, and I was remembering when I lived in Cambridge 2 years ago. And I was remembering when I was at Cornell 3 years ago. And then I was remembering when I was at FAU 4 years ago. And I was just like, thank God I did not get what I wanted in those moments because I was not ready, and new levels did bring new devils. And there were things I needed to know how to work through. There were things I needed to know how to navigate that if I would have gotten everything I wanted 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready for it. And now I look at this moment right now and I'm like, this is why Starlight Synergy School is here, because I finally, new levels are going to bring new devils, but I'm like, this is very different than those spaces that I was in.
Getting the depth of work. And I think that's, we talk about doing the work all the time. It's never ending. It's an endless process. I could be as deep in with hypno breathwork, with my coaching, with everything. But if I stop breathing, where do I go from there?
Yeah.
So it is showing up daily and it is putting in the quote unquote on work. It is the consistency. It is the drive and the inspiration that comes from within, not the need to please everyone else. Sneak peek. My next program is called Success Beyond Systems. It's a deeper dive
Mm.
inward on the journey upward. And the reason why it's so important is because we always have these external validations that we're looking to prove for yourself. Whatever was supposed to happen in that moment, you wanted to prove something. I can do this. I can make this. I can create this. But that doesn't mean your body was ready to do it. It
Yep.
doesn't mean the reality of your current state was able to handle it. And there's so many quotes out there now, as we know, God, the universe, everything is going to give us what we need, not what we want.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in that because just because we want something doesn't mean we need it. And I shared a lot about this. I'm learning to be more open. I wasn't excited when I got pregnant.
Oh,
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was very hard for me. I thought, quite frankly, it ruined my life. I was like, everything I've dreamed of, all of these goals that I had, all of the business endeavors that I wanted to do over the next few months, I'm screwed. And in that moment, I know the mom that I am. I know I wanted another kid. I know my husband and I aren't going anywhere, but I had this need to prove I'm supposed to be at a certain point in my business.
Mm.
Even when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't tell anyone. You know what I did? I launched 2 spots open for a one-on-one. Let's take on more clients while you're sick, confused, and your life is taking a turn. Guess what happened? Those 2 spots did not fill.
Mm.
And you know what the following weeks brought me? Bathroom floors and toilets and sick and tired and couldn't get out of bed for almost 8 weeks.
Holy shit.
And then I was sick till 28 weeks. So as much as I wanted to add more to my business and as much as I wanted to bring more on and to reach new levels, it's actually not what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have breath and I didn't trust and I didn't have the tools and the ability to say, hey, let's take a step back and let's see what's really going on here, I probably would have pushed that.
Mm.
But every time I took it into breath in a very kind way, breath was like, you're stupid. What are you doing? So many breathwork sessions where I tried to go in and create content or create this. And breath was like, you're miserable. You need sleep. You need this. Like I had first time in my life, I fell asleep in a breathwork session and I was devastated. And breath was telling me your body needs sleep, not to create. It needs to sleep.
Wow.
So the power of everything that we're discussing and the power of this modality and so many other modalities is they are going to give you what you need, not what you want.
It's so true.
And we need more of that. Because we can want all the things, but it doesn't mean we need them.
Yeah. Okay. We have a few more minutes,
Right.
so I want to make sure that we get to everything. What future developments can we expect in the field of hypno breathwork at Starlight Synergy School?
I think continuous expansion. I do think the deeper that we get into it and the more we can go into the science behind it, I think the deeper that we get into it, we can go deeper into those inner childhood wounds. We can have deeper release sessions and also bring ourselves back into flow state. I think future developments for me, I always go with where is the program actually going? We can expand things as far as we want, or we can keep them as simple as we want, but that really is going to be the evolution of the school itself. So
Yeah.
as the school evolves, obviously our curriculum, our value, and everything that we're giving is going to evolve too. And I think those type of things evolve in real time. We can plan as much as we want together, but I think bringing the basis of the introduction of hypno breathwork into the world and into the people who are part of this beautiful school that you are so lucky to be a part of, I think is going to be the start because people need to be introduced to hypno breathwork first and they need to make it a practice before we really dive into deeper layers. You never want to give someone their first session and say, hey, let's do some inner childhood trauma today for your first session. People might run.
Yeah.
I do think future developments, it's as big as we wanna make it. I don't really think there's a limit here with what we can create, especially with just our synergy personally together.
Mhm.
Whatever your vision is, we can take it there. And we've seen that together already. So I think future developments are gonna be limitless. There are no this is when we talk about endless possibilities.
Yeah.
It's in situations like these. Breath is only going to enhance it. And where our vision take us is exactly where we're going to be able to get to.
And where for everybody who's listening, who is very interested now and wants to work in either do breath work or they want to get back into their practice of breath work, like how can they integrate breath work into their daily routine?
I think it's simply stated, just do it. I've had this question asked so many times, like, how do I start? Just start. And I know that's not the answer most people want. They're like, give me tips, give me suggestions, help me start. Just do it.
Mhm.
Open a breathwork session. I have so many free ones on my actual Instagram, on my page. There's so many resources out there. I always say this. I don't care if it's with me. Try someone else. Everyone's going to have their kind of preference. I have clients who would come to me and they're like, I tried such and such. Holy shit, I hated breath work. I'm like, that's okay. Everyone has their own. You're magnetized to a person before you are to the product.
Yep.
And you can't force yourself to do a meditation session with someone who you literally are cringing, can't stand the sound of their voice, and don't feel resistance the whole time you're listening to them. It's
Yeah.
going to take you nowhere. So again, try it out. I think with hypno breath work, I schedule mine. I will literally put in my schedule. I will send myself an invite. You guys think I'm kidding? On Google, it literally says breathwork with Flow, and it's on my calendar. So you can't have the mindset of, oh, I'm supposed to do this at that time, or oh, I have to get this done, or oh, this got scheduled over it. Oh no, it was blocked off on your calendar. You
Yep.
have this time in this space that was designated to breathe. You have nothing else to do at that time but do it. So I would say make it a priority. 2, just do it. 3, don't just do it once. That would be my biggest advice. Someone who wants to start breath work, don't say, "Oh, I did a session. Congratulations." I hate to be brutally honest, I don't care. Do another one. So the first session, it's great. Great job on getting started, but you have to do it consistently. I have a girl who is in my monthly membership and we breathe every Tuesday. She just now, after a year and 3 months of being a one-on-one and in the membership, started breathing 5 days a week.
Wow. That's huge. The fact
Just
that but still, I think just that is a huge accomplishment. No matter how long it takes you to get there, to actually get there is amazing.
got there. So went from 1
Yeah.
day a week as a one-on-one, then started 2 days a week as one-on-one and in the membership. And I feel so good every time I breathe. Why don't I do this more?
Mm,
And I did say, tell me, why don't you do this more? I'm not gonna baby hold your hand. I will tell you if you have the resources and you have the access, it is now in your hands. I can't show up on your doorstep. I can't wake up with you in bed in the morning. Oh, it sounds like a great cuddle party. I can only give you the resources and the encouragement and the support and be here when you need me. And I do think once you start that practice, it's something your body actually craves.
yep.
It's something your body needs. And it always goes back to I call hypno breath work. It is in the categories when you have to choose. It's wellness, mental health and wellness.
Yep.
Put it in the fitness if you want to. I'd argue it. I'd find a way to argue it.
Yeah.
But, just when you stop working out, when you stop eating correctly, when you stopped getting fresh air and going on your walks, if you stop doing all of those things, you're going to notice the shift in your body. Your body is going to need it. So it's the same thing with breath work. If you breathe twice a week and you're on this high every time you do breath work, and then you don't do it for 3 days, your body needs it. So getting a practice is truly just creating one. Start with one session. I always tell people start with once a week. See how you feel. And if you're like, this is fantastic, choose 2 days a week. Start doing it every other day. I'm not expecting everyone to breathe 7 days a week just because I do.
Yep.
But when it becomes a morning practice, I actually don't think about it. People ask me, oh, you breathe 7 days a week? I'm like, oh shit, I do. It's just what I wake up and do. It's not that I say, "Huh, today is the day I have to do a breath work session." It's just part of my routine.
Yep.
And when you make it part of your routine, it's like anything we do as we implement a self-care practice. We get up and eat breakfast every day, don't we? Or we
Sure.
should. So what's the difference? I won't use the get up and get dressed because we don't always do that anymore, but you still get up in the morning and you have a routine no matter what it looks like. So if you get up in the morning and it's just part of your routine, it's not actually any suggestions that I could give you. It's truly just making it a priority.
Yep. Okay, we are coming to the end. And I am so excited for the future because I'm like already thinking this isn't the first and last podcast episode about breathwork because as everyone has listened, so many intricacies of breathwork and the neuroscience behind it that I think it'll be really cool to do individual episodes coming up in the future about specific items in this moving forward. But I want to know final thoughts, messages for the audience, and also where they can find you, all of your things.
Yeah. I think final thoughts is we all have superpowers. We all have the power. We all have the tool. It is in our back pocket. So using that is your first step. So when you ask, what's your first step? Just use it. I believe that everyone in this world desires and deserves to be everything they want to be. I truly do believe that. And the only thing that is limiting us and stopping us from being that is ourselves.
Yep.
So we have the ability to shift and to wire that, everything we've talked about today. So I'm so excited for everyone listening, for everyone in both of our worlds. I am here for you. I genuinely mean that. I will say it time and time again. My virtual doors are open. Knock on them, slide in my DMs, send me that message. I am here to support you. And I genuinely mean that. Breath work for me, I majority work off of my Instagram just because it's where my biggest clientele is. So underscore flow with flow. And it's just like it sounds, it's flow and then with low. So FLOWITHLO. It's exactly what it sounds like. Flow state is where we all deserve to be, but there's work that needs to be done before, after, and in between. So I'm really excited. I have a bunch of freebies in my bio. If you ever need a session, message me. Hey, I'd love to do a session. Cool. The first session is always on me. And I genuinely mean
Woo!
that. So, anyone listening, if hypnobreathwork is something that you feel a call to try out, let me know. I genuinely enjoy it. And that's one of the most beautiful parts about this is it's not a chore for me. It's not work for me. I love seeing the transformation that people are capable of. It lights my soul on fire.
It does.
So
You hold
I'm
such
free book that, whether if it's Instagram, free class, workshop, Synergy School, whatever, breathe somewhere, please.
seriously, I did not know your first session is free, and we're telling everyone right now about
You-
it, but like
You've never
everyone
tried
needs
breathwork before?
to
Come.
go do a free session with Lauren because you'll never stop wanting to do breath work ever.
Maybe
uh,
even it's take your time wherever it needs to be. I think that's why it doesn't just have to be one-on-ones. I have a community for a reason. That's
yeah,
why Bit and Breath exists. Still come and breathe every week. If you want to take it to the next level, take it to the next level. But introducing it into your life and having a consistent practice is going to be game changer for you, not for me.
and I've met the women inside your group and your community, and they are the coolest fucking people I've ever met.
Good to
And
hear.
it's just honestly, I've never felt like such a supportive community and just so much love and very funny too. It's like
I know we're like on air and the world is going to hear this, but Tuesdays are for me. Like I come to our Tuesday sessions and my heart is immediately, I love every single one of them. And it's a safe space. All of our voices deserve to be heard and to be seen. And this is the space where we get to do that. And we're not only acknowledging each other and supporting each other, but then we get to breathe after and amplify everything that's in that room. So it's a really special space.
it
Thank
is.
you. Yeah.
I love it so much. I cannot wait to be a part of that more. Yeah. I guess in the end, this is the end of the podcast. To follow for more information about Starlight Synergy School, it's at Starlight Synergy School on Instagram, on YouTube. And to sign up for more information about the launch and upcoming episodes, head to my website, which is katiedickinson.com, and hit the Starlight Synergy School button, and you can enter in your email and we'll keep you updated.
Woo!
And that's it for today. So thank you so much for coming,
You
Lauren.
will see you on the inside.
Yeah.
Hey, Katie, I adore you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you.
Oh my gosh, I love you. So what am I doing right now? I was like about to like exit out of you. I love you so this is amazing. You are such a fucking wealth of knowledge. Together, we can unlock the secrets of the stars and the untapped potential within. Let's embark on this cosmic journey together. Welcome to the Cosmic Classroom. Get ready to elevate your essence, honey, because the stars are not the limit.